People love a record-breaking car. They love to know it's the quickest around the Nürburgring, or that it has the most amount of kilowatts, or the quickest 0 to 100 time. Problem is, those record-breaking cars are generally quite rare and subsequently quite expensive, so your chances of actually owning one are rare, but not impossible. Instead of picking a car that holds a record for speed or power, choose one that holds the record as the world's best-selling car. You'd then buy one of these, the Toyota Corolla. Over 40 million of them sold, and almost 1 million of those in South Africa. To put that into perspective, that's one Corolla for every man, woman and child in East London. And some left over. So you'd have a record-breaking car, but historically speaking, not a very pretty one. But all that has changed thanks to Toyota's newfound ability to build cars that are genuinely attractive. Manufacturers have a rule that says don't mess with the styling of your mainstream models, but Toyota haven't just broken that rule, they've absolutely smashed it. Corolla is no longer a synonym for bland or any other metaphor for uninteresting styling, because Toyota's design department was allowed some freedom to create something that dared to be attractive. There are some really nice elements to this car, like the chrome bar in the front grille that extends into the headlights. But even though it is the prettiest Corolla ever made, it's debatable whether it's as up-to-date as its rivals, chief among them those Koreans. For me, although the Corolla is an obvious improvement, it's still relatively conservative when compared to the stuff from the likes of Hyundai or Kia. It's the same for the interior, which is progressive for a Toyota, but still not quite as good as the others. They've used strong horizontal and vertical lines for a unique design, and this Prestige version, which is the middle of the spec range, is comfortable and fairly well kitted. It's got a touchscreen infotainment system, something that gets a special mention now but will soon become so commonplace that it'll be conspicuous by its absence. It is the remote central locking of the 21st century. The black colour scheme is a bit somber, but the materials are good and it lights up in a nice blue at night. Standard bits across the range include USB, electric mirrors and a trip computer. On top of that, our test car gets Bluetooth, a multifunction steering wheel and a reversing camera. Toyota has done a lot to improve all-round comfort in here. The driver's seat is now more adjustable and a bit more generous, rear passengers get more legroom, and they've chucked in a whole lot more sound-deadening stuff so the cabin is quieter, and naturally, the boot is bigger. There are 3 petrol engine options in the Corolla lineup, a 1.3, a 1.6 and a 1.8, but only one diesel. There's 1.4 with 66 kilowatts and 205 newton meters. It's got a tax-dodging CO2 count of just 119 grams per kilometer and a claimed fuel consumption figure of 4.5 litres per 100 k's. Not exactly what we saw in our time with the car, but our 6.5-litre average is quite impressive, given that it was all city driving and we weren't trying to drive particularly economically. Which doesn't mean we were out drag racing at every light, because quite obviously that kind of behaviour isn't acceptable in this kind of car. Although, I don't know in what car that kind of behaviour is acceptable, but I digress. For a modest 1.4, it really performs quite well. It doesn't like venturing above 4,000 RPM, and beyond that you get more noise than forward motion. But generally speaking, it's good on the highway and happy around town. Helped by a good set of cogs in the gearbox, there's never a need to push this Corolla hard, because the power delivery is where it needs to be. In fact, everything about this car, the style, the interior, the power, is kind of what you'd expect from it. But it does have something unexpected. Think of all the things you could say to describe a Toyota Corolla. It's reliable, it's got a solid build, it's got mass appeal, it's reliable. Of all the adjectives you could use to describe this car, there's one that you would think wouldn't stick, and that's enjoyable. The cynical side of me would say that of all the signs the world is coming to an end, Toyota building a Corolla that's actually enjoyable to drive is the surest one. But I won't say that. Instead, I'll say there's obviously been a lot of thought put into this car, not just about how they can make it so universally acceptable that they can sell another 40 million, but also about how they can make those millions of customers actually want to drive this car. And for me, they've succeeded. I wasn't expecting much from the new Corolla besides a prettier face and some new toys, but add some solid interactions and a decent engine to that mix and you've got a really good drive. As good as the Koreans? Maybe not quite yet, but the battle is certainly on. The 1.4 diesel feels good in most circumstances, with good feel from the manual gearbox as well. Fuel consumption was economical without really trying. There's no doubt the new Corolla is a better all-round package, offering more style, comfort and enjoyment than ever before. The Korean brands still hold a slight edge though.